Kendrick Lamar. Compton rapper Kendrick Lamar, hands down, no question, I will debate you, has the best batting average in rap right now. Kendrick Lamar, Compton rapper, hopefully he doesn't need much of an introduction at this point. He's recently dropped what could potentially be the best rap record of the decade, To Pimp a Butterfly. Shortly after that, he proved even his B-sides are gold. Kendrick Lamar, mega talented, great catalog. Section 80, Good Kid, Mad City, To Pimp a Butterfly. Every project he comes out with gets bigger, better, more ambitious, more mind-bending. And I've been telling you since 2011. Kendrick Lamar has something. He's got something going on. Section 80, great album. An album on which Kendrick showcased a kind of nasal, high-pitched voice, but a lot of personality. He had flow, he had a lot to say. If there's one thing I cannot attack Kendrick on any level, that is substance. He's always got that. He's always got something substantial to say. Consistently, I have loved Kendrick's music for his passionate flow, his energetic delivery, the timely subject matters he employs in his songs. I love his flow, I love his wordplay, I love his rhymes, his words, what he is saying. For a guy that has such an accessible sound, his music is fantastic and far from dumbed down. He's one of the biggest rappers out there that, in my opinion, is really in touch with what's going on socially, at least with what he expresses in his music, because, you know, these days that could really be a risk. But despite his best intentions, there will always be people who, the moment they feel something political is going on in a piece of art, they will reel back, thinking they're too good to be told anyone else's point of view because they know the way the world works. For sure, all artists out there have gotten negative criticism, but for the most part, Kendrick Lamar is beloved, respected, by fans and critics alike, to the point where I think people even read a little bit too much into a lot of what he does. Yeah, maybe on his albums he tends to be a little subtle. You have to read into his stuff a bit, but maybe that's why he's trying to be overt and in your face on this track and on this verse and just sort of tell you straightforward what he's thinking and how he's feeling. It all just comes together so well because Kendrick is delivering this really consistent personality and message over every song. So none of it feels misplaced, none of it really feels far-fetched. And it's fantastic that for as famous Kendrick is right now, for as grand as this album is, and for all the success that it's seeing, Kendrick has continued to make music that is down to earth. I will come out here right out the gate with my own bias. While I do enjoy both artists, and I have so for years, I do prefer Kendrick. I do prefer Kendrick. I do prefer Kendrick. I do prefer Kendrick. Logic is a more influential rapper than Kendrick Lamar? No, he's not. No, he's not. What? He's really going in. He says himself he's going to slay it. Kendrick really holds nothing back on this verse. Now, as far as J. Cole's side of this collaboration, I think there aren't as many quotables here, honestly, nor is he making verses that are as densely packed as what Kendrick did. As far as the conscious side of J. Cole's music goes, he doesn't exactly display the overwhelming passion or the flow or the logic or the knowledge of a guy like Kendrick Lamar. Call and response vocal samples that sound like they're straight out of Kendrick's DNA. Bass line that seems heavily influenced by the Shireen intro from Good Kid, Mad City. Intermission on here is so smooth, jazzy, and neo-soul inspired, it doesn't sound too far off from something from To Pimp a Butterfly. I feel like J. Cole is a few steps underneath Kendrick, to be completely honest. A$AP Rocky, Tyler the Creator, J. Cole, Meek Mill, Jay Electronica, Big Sean, Mac Miller, Pusha T, Drake, Big Crit. Some of these guys I'm a pretty big fan of, but I mean, honestly, when I take all of their previous projects and measure them up against Kendrick's previous project, there's no contest, really. There are way more artists out there copying Kendrick Lamar right now than copying Logic.
This whole album is a ripoff of all of the Kendrick album, and every song sounds like Kendrick's flow, cause Kendrick is the best. Kendrick, K-Dot. T-Pab is a classic, and this is just trash.
Whether it be in terms of relevancy, whether it be in terms of hit making, whether it be in terms of artistic ability, whether it be in terms of critical acclaim and overall popularity, by every measure, J. Cole is underneath what Kendrick Lamar is doing. He's not as artsy as a Kendrick Lamar. He doesn't have a To Pimp a Butterfly in his discography. Why does the song I'm Gone sound like a Good Kid, Mad City leftover? Right down to the flow. And the song Never Enough sounds like it was written directly after listening to Hole Up off of Section 80. Logic has directly ripped Kendrick off on numerous tracks. So how can you even say that he's more influential than Kendrick when he's copying the dude? Come on, come on. He's doing things that some artists don't even have the talent to try to even attempt, and artists that are somewhat talented are trying to rip him off in any way that they possibly can. Just so that they could seem deeper than they actually are. Of course, J. Cole stans are going to like whatever he does, but the album is most likely going to be derided because J. Cole is not just on that level with Kendrick. Finally, I think my last critique of this thing, we're going to leave it at this final one over here, numero 5. Cole would hold Kendrick back, or he would fail to keep up with Kendrick. Sorry to all the J. Cole fans and all the people out there who hate me for just enjoying Kendrick's music so much. I don't know what the fuck to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. I just preferences, man, preferences. He makes incredible music. He makes special music. He makes unique music. He's doing things that other artists are not doing. I'm not trying to say every artist should try to make this record. I mean, you only get so many Kendrick Lamars. I think if a lot of old heads are being honest with themselves, they should put Kendrick somewhere in the top 10, if not at least at number 10. So I don't disagree with the placement of Kendrick at 10, even if there are rappers that he is way better than placed above him. Though Kendrick has a lot of great qualities as a rapper, what I thought was so awesome about Section 80 is how conceptual the album was. And that was a characteristic about him and his music that I just was hoping he would not let go of as he kind of went into later albums. And I'm actually really happy to say that being conceptual is one of the artistic personality traits of Kendrick that has gotten stronger. But we see Kendrick change from this overly indulgent, emotional wreck to this bold, confident, graceful, smart, next level human being. Not only does he think of an entire album as like, a full, complete experience, but now he's thinking of how his albums fit into his entire discography. I love an artist who sort of thinks big picture like that. That's an artist who's going to be around for a long time. They're going to continue to put out interesting stuff. They're going to continue to challenge their audience. They're going to continue to drop classics. On the second Untitled track here, I'm blown away. This track is fantastic. Kendrick comes through with this show-stopping flow and delivery. Not that it's super fast or technical or anything like that, but he just has so much passion. But really what ends up stealing the show is Kendrick's lyricism. This dick ain't free. The truth is that it's the verse from Kendrick Lamar that makes this entire song. Considering some of the dark and abstract stuff that Kendrick raps about on this LP, he's either much older than he says he is, or he's put a lot more thought than your average 20-something has into just the world at large and existence.
Kendrick's just bitching about being black in America.
Oh, he sold out. He's making a dumbed down, sellout track that doesn't mean anything. And then you listen to it in the context of the album, it's like, bam, it means a lot. Kendrick thinks white people suck. Well, that's really kind of a basic point of view. And not because Kendrick's being basic, because you're being basic. Maybe one day, 25 years from now, we'll see kids saying, oh, you listen to dad rap like Kendrick Lamar? You listen to dad rap? That's rap for dads. That's the rap my dad says all the time is really good. A lot of people complain all the time about rappers selling out or changing their tune as soon as they get famous, so on and so forth. Think about the kind of music that Kendrick was making on the album Section 80 and the kind of messages that he was putting forward. Then imagine that guy getting famous and actually sticking to his philosophy as he's getting bigger and bigger and essentially being put smack dab in the middle of the world that he's criticizing so heavily on that album. And essentially, to me, where the aggression is aimed on this verse is to like change all of this mindless Molly shit into something a little more substantial. There are some completely new and whacked out things that Kendrick does all over this record. And every single one of them goes over incredibly well, flying colors, which is also evidenced in that Kendrick, when he takes his songs from his albums and performs them live with the musicians he collaborates with, he completely reimagines them. I think it's unquestionable at this point that when people ask, hey, who are we going to be looking back on 10 to 20 years from now is like, that was a classic artist, that was a great artist, it's going to be Kendrick Lamar. Because it was just a few years ago, just several years ago, that Kendrick was the underdog in hip-hop, and now he's making what could possibly be the best rap record of the decade. Which leads me to my number one spot on this list, Kendrick Lamar to Pimp a Butterfly. As far as hip-hop albums go, and just albums in general, this thing has almost everything I look for. You know, it has a great concept, great lyrics, great instrumentals, sound. What a narrative and concept, which is executed so frickin' well. I'm feeling a light to decent 8 on this thing. Loved it for the most part, have a lot of love for this album. I like where this guy is going. This LP lasted for an hour and it didn't bore me once. An album that in a few short years has been widely acknowledged as one of hip-hop's best records and one of modern music's best concept albums. I'm really impressed with this LP. I mean, I love it. I think it's fantastic. It seems even when Kendrick is coming through with something that isn't his best, it's still pretty great. He's obviously advanced past his previous efforts, and I'm excited to see him do that more in the future. I think Kendrick, with this record, with his songs, with his talent and abilities, breathes new life into these ideas in a way that I think no other artist in music or outside of music over the past 10 years has. It's albums like this that people use as benchmarks in musical history, and it just happens to be fantastically enjoyable as well. I'm feeling a come in 10 on this record. Yeah. It's time for a review of the new Kendrick Lamar album. Damn! I think Kendrick could have done a better job of just sitting on these ideas, mulling them over more, and possibly stringing together a more central idea to tie it all together just to give this album more impact. I have heard Kendrick release better projects than this, at least 3 of them I would say, and that's pretty much what leads me to say that I'm feeling a decent to strong 7 on this record. Honestly, I was more let down by some of the core voices on this record, mainly Kendrick Lamar. Vocally and lyrically on this track, it does kind of feel like Kendrick is phoning it in just a little bit, like he's just kind of here on this album for the check. Kendrick doesn't really have too much to say or update us with outside of the fact that he's been off the radar, and some of his new flows and inflections are far from his best. Once again, he is kind of lyrically underperforming and occasionally trailing off into these faux deep conceptual detours like in the last moments of King's Dead. There are loads of comments and messages and social media interactions that I see week in and week out that basically remind me that I gave this album a 7 out of 10. You may be surprised to hear that honestly, I enjoy Damn even less than the day when I originally reviewed it. This dick ain't free.